Hey, Jay, how's it going?
Very good.
Thank you for hopping on and joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I want to dive into the certainty of the uncertainty when it comes to tariffs in Canadian restaurants. But before we do, for folks that aren't aware of who you are and what you do, if you could just do a quick introduction about yourself.
Perfect. So Jay Ashton here, Canada's restaurant guy. I've been in the restaurant industry over 35 years now, working in restaurants and also being really a coach and a consultant today. But I've been working in the corporate field for quite some time with one of the largest food distributors in the country. And really have had an opportunity to build and develop resources for our industry, working with 30 of the top national chains in the country, as well as over thousands and thousands of restaurants in the independent sector in our industry. And today I get to work with them in the field every day. And I also have many other channels that I work on right now, as well as I have a news channel right now for the restaurant industry called the Canadian Restaurant News Channel. And I also have Canada's Restaurant Guy brand as well that offers solutions and ideas for restaurants every day. And then I also have a podcast myself.
Awesome. Yes, a podcast that I was lucky to have been on back in December. Our CEO, Jordan, has been on, I think, at least once, maybe twice, and solutions and ideas. And I definitely want to dive into that today. As we're talking, we're recording this on February 19th. So the tariff situation is still, quote unquote, on hold. But as I mentioned before, the certainty right now is that there's some uncertainty going on. So, I want to dive in a little bit here, not a little bit, a lot of it, just to understand the situation from your perspective. What are the specific tariffs or looming tariffs that are causing the most problems or restaurateurs are most concerned about right now in Canada?
It's a great question. It's definitely loaded, as they would say. The tariffs are going to really hit us in many areas. And when you look at what they are, now let's just hope that maybe that uncertainty that they don't happen. But I've done a lot of calculations on them and I've looked at them in many, many different facets and different ways to really understand what the significant impact will be on our industry. And I have to say, I don't take let's hope they don't happen. I think that's the worst thing to do. I think hope is great, but we don't know. And I think the idea is that we have to play the worst case scenario here. And we have to understand how bad they're going to impact restaurants. Now, in the Canadian market right now, give or take, the average restaurant right now in Canada has about 30% of their products they bring in for their menu has tariffs, will be either impacted by tariffs in some way. And that's either products coming into Canada or products going into the United States. There will be an impact, about 30% of what you carry. So we do know that there is options out there when it comes to Canadian products or products that you can maybe substitute. There will be some choices to be made, but there is solutions and there is ideas on how to overcome those by more of a Canadian style menu. And we've been playing with that a little bit, but the impact is 25% on all goods coming in into the United States that will make less demand for our products in the United States. But then our
retaliatory
is that those products coming into the Canadian market, which are really going to hit a lot of the QSR models because a lot of their products are, processed in the United States, brought up into Canada.
Yep.
Those are significantly going to be impacted by a 25%, a tariff for tariff, kind of the dollar for dollar amount on the Canadian product coming in from the United States will be hit with those as well. It's not good for both sides. The demand, we want, people using our products that are made up here and processed into the Canadian market, but there's going to be critical decisions made and have to be made for restaurants, independent or in the QSR model or franchises. There is going to have to be major decisions made. And I think when you look at it, there is some silver lining to this, and there's some optimistic ideas around us, binding together and getting everyone involved more in this Canadian menu or Canadian items, supporting Canada more. I think you're seeing more and more of that, but it's not easy to make decisions on something you don't know if it's going to happen or not.
To clarify a little bit the situation, what are some of those ingredients or products that might make that list effectively?
Restaurants Canada recently did a post about the burger, and if you saw the burger and they have the lettuce coming in from California, the onions or tomatoes are coming in from Ontario. These products are coming in from the United States. We send a lot of protein down to the US market that are from Canada that gets processed
Yeah.
in the United States and then brought back. So I would say as a restaurateur right now, your commodity products, you're going to have to make some decisions on. And that's going to be your high volume. So it's going to vary for a lot of places. But when we get into those proteins, we get into the produce proteins, those are going to, no matter what, tariffs or not, we're going to see those fluctuate in price. Most of the time they're going to go up, right? Like it's not going to go down. So, but I call it a tariff ripple effect. There is going to be products that not necessarily have tariffs also on them that are going to go up in price.
Sure.
It's that, sorry, you're in the room and you're going to go up in the price as well with products. And we saw that in 2018 when the steel tariffs, the United States hit us with tariffs on products that went into the United States, things that use steel, like wash machines and dryers. Well, the wash machines were tariffed, but the dryers weren't, but the dryers went up in the same price.
Right.
So we're going to see a lot of that stuff happen. It is difficult times, but the best thing I have to say for restaurants right now is to sit back, cost your stuff out, look at every avenue, look at every corner. Do not, I've been through 4 dramatic situations like this in my career. Life changing, industry changing or business changing.
Yep.
This is number 5. And this is, I always say it's like a hurricane 5. This is your hurricane 5.
And I think, like we said, we hope this doesn't happen. Maybe it won't happen to the extent that it's currently we're looking at, and, we'll adjust that. But I think there's value in costing your products, really taking a look at what you're doing, not just riding through and doing what you've always been doing. So regardless of things happening or not, that process of going through your menu and rethinking things and your inventory, I think will be valuable in an evergreen sense. And as far as like how long this will be, we don't know, but the reality is certainty is uncertainty. And what are some of those more practical menu adjustments the restaurants are making to kind of offset this? If you have examples of like a specific ingredient change that you know of, or what are some of those changes that folks should be making or that you're already seeing?
The best one is, do you know you can make salads without lettuce?
I did not.
So you can make salads still without lettuce. There's a lot of great products out there that you could use grains with, and we have Canadian grains in Canada that are phenomenal. And there's a lot of products out there. This is what's interesting, is the innovation that's going to come out of this is going to be incredible. And I was doing a menu today just on release, how can I create a menu without using traditional produce? And sure enough, we got beautiful grains to create more of that grain style salad. Maybe it's not the leafy stuff, but we can get through it. And I think when you get into the new season, I think we're going to see a lot of places using alternatives. And when you get into protein, it might be a little bit different. I want to share this with you. I did this a while ago. It was about 7 years ago. I was able to create a beef burger by integrating plant-based into it. It was called the Flex Burger. And we were able to reduce the cost by 40% on a beef burger by integrating lentils and rices and grains, natural ingredients, into it. It still had a high protein flavor. Like it still tasted like beef. It didn't taste like a plant-based burger, which there's nothing wrong with those, but I'm big on beef. But it was able to reduce the cost. I think it was about 40% on our total cost. And we did that when that was the 2012 kind of challenge that we had before the pandemic, in a sense, to our industry. Yeah. We actually were able to reduce the beef prices on burgers by that much. So we have to get innovative. And that is only done when we start playing in the kitchens again and start looking at products. And I would say when you look at your menu, and I do this with the restaurants I work with, is when we cost out a menu, we actually create a column. It's called the why column. We literally put why at the top. And we rate it. We create a column and we actually ask why on every ingredient. Why do we do this? Why is it this size? Why do we have this ingredient? And it's okay to say, we do this for whatever reason, but it gets us to think about those conversations about why are we using this many ounces on the burger? Maybe can it go little or bigger? Like, where's the value? Why are we doing it at this price? Why? And we tend to forget asking that a lot. We kind of tend to just do it because we've always done it this way. And we know that that's not good in our industry to say that, but I think that's the best thing to look at is get innovative, look at alternatives. And this is where AI comes in too. Use AI. I think it's a gift at the right time. Use AI to play with menu ideas. Use it as your critique critique your work. Look at your menu now. Take a picture of it. Use AI. Upload it. Play with it. Look at your demographics. Research. Play. You'll get through this. It's the worst thing to do right now is close your eyes, hold your breath until the 4th of March, and hope it doesn't go through. That's not a good plan.
I think the way you're talking about it has a nice positive air of positivity about it. Just, getting creative again and getting back in the kitchen and not throwing up your hand and saying, well, if I can't get lettuce, I can't make a salad, right?
That's the beauty of it. That, a lot of the folks I get to work with in the United States and Canada, and I remember Josh Coppell down in the States in San Francisco, Josh was like, people are still going to go out, Jay. People are still going to have a burger.
Yep.
They're still going to eat out. We just got to be innovative, and we have to start really putting the business sense on more and more with every decision we make. There's still, I always call it legroom. There's still a lot of legroom in the P&L to make adjustments on your business. And there's fixed cost, operational cost. Have you grilled all those people that are still going to keep moving forward and still be making money? Like, have you looked at those as options to save some money in your P&L? There's so much things you can do out there still before you have to throw up your arms and throw in the towel, before you have to make critical decisions. These are simple decisions and somewhat might open up doors. And I was thinking about again today, like looking at these salads going, man, I'd be making cool salads all day long if I didn't have to use this stuff. And what a great way to offer something that you don't have to do a price increase. I think it's a lot of fun. It's another challenge. We're always given a challenge. It seems like every couple of years where there's a new one. This is the new one that we'll get through it. But I promise everyone that listens, don't take this as like, when people always wait out the storm, or they always, you always watch people down in Florida, those schmuckles that don't go and get, put down the boards on the windows and we'll just wait it out. And then you have to go, the poor rescue has to go and get those people. Don't be those people.
Sure. Yeah, I remember seeing this image. It was like some kind of sand dune or something. And it was like, if you go down, it costs like $9,000 to come rescue you. So really think about it.
Yeah, exactly. I never thought about that. You're right. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be on the roof of your house.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy. Like, don't be that. And I say that, and like the best case scenario is that we're all worrying and getting ready, and the hurricane misses us. So what? We know what to do. Take the learnings. Keep your business going. You're going to have a better spring and summer than you ever had because you've made decisions based on business and profitability of your business and increasing that cash flow. And that's the key. Bottom line, increase your cash flow right now is the key. Take advantage of your guests that are in your business right now and get as much as you can out of them. And I think the other thing is we look at like what I be doing right now is connecting with your community is so big right now. Making them know that you're around. I took a really good learning from Restaurants Canada's webinar that was on yesterday. And they said, don't forget to let your community, and that would be on social media or in email formats, how many people you employ that are Canadian, that are from Canada. How many people you employ in your community, and reminding them that you have, I met with one location today, and he says he has 350 people work for him. And I'm like, that is powerful when you say, don't forget about we employ 350 Canadians in our restaurant. Come and support us. We tend to always focus on the food, which is important, but we need to focus also on the people. I think people connect with people in these times.
Absolutely. And I want to dive into some of those communication tactics. Before we do, I just want to, we talked about looking at the P&L, looking at inventory, and how should folks be managing or looking at managing their inventory, their vendor supplies, anything like that. Just making sure they're ready. And like you said, it's not a hurricane kind of like doomsday prepping kind of thing, but are there things people can be stocking up on or looking to, change out, or, what are some of those ways folks can do a little bit more prep on that side?
It's a great question. Your money is better in your bank than in your cooler. Okay. And I say that in a sense, cash flow is king. Your money is safer in the, in the bank than it is in your dry storage or a pile of stuff because you got a deal on it sitting in the corner. That's tying up your cash flow. And you want your money in the bank, not in your inventory. So you want to run your inventory to a point that you have products, but you're not running out. Obviously, we don't like that, but that happens. That's okay. But don't tie it up in so much that you have a stuffed freezer and fridge. That is literally money with expiry date, I always say, which is crazy. You want that money in the bank, and you want your cash flow in the bank, because if it does go south in super there and no one goes out, because we also have a consumer confidence problem coming up here. it's already starting, that you don't want all of a sudden you have all your money tied up in inventory and your business goes out of business or you have to close or whatever the case is. That's a worst case scenario. Or it's just not busy enough and your money's not tied up in there. And then you can't advertise, you can't promote, your money's all tied up in inventory. Run it so you're in and out on your products. Watch your inventory. Keep your eye on your top 10. I always say your top 10 is going to fluctuate your cost anyways, more than anything. And that's easy to maintain.
Yep.
Watching an inventory of 700 is really hard, or 500 or 200. Your top 10 is going to be where most of your money is anyways. And most people will keep an eye on that already, but I recommend that.
So resist the urge to splurge on a bunch of things that, I don't want the price to go up, so I'm going to stock up now and carve out some space for some dry goods or freezer stuff. And, recommendation is more to sit tight on those things.
I just think if you tie it up so much and all of a sudden it goes south, how can you market because all your money's gone,
yeah.
Right? And it doesn't make any sense really. And even if you do get some deals and you are moving those products, I'm sure that's okay. But just be careful that you're not filling up because you're worried. The toilet paper COVID situation, we don't want to see that again. And
no, that was wrong.
And I always say if there's a savings in a sense of, it's such a great deal, trust me, someone's making it up somewhere else.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So inventory management, are there any technology solutions, that you can think of or anything like that can help with these types of challenges?
Yeah, you know what? So there's a couple things that I always say to the places I work with. And I think David Hopkins from 15 Group is one of my favorite consultant group out there. And David has a company they work with. It's called Navi, Navi. There's a plug for them.
Okay.
Is that I just started working with them more. They're not the Ferrari, but they're definitely the Chev.
Okay.
They're going to get your job done. And I'm not as the Canadian market, I find is just adapting to a lot of technology right now as we speak. We're getting into it more and more. We're seeing the use of it. Programs are getting easier and more cost effective. If you have to use a bloody napkin to do stuff, do something, but have a plan, have a strategy, have a process, make it consistent, do it frequent. I don't care if I call it the napkin theory. Okay. I don't care if it's the napkins. Just have something so you can track it, trace it. Especially nowadays, there's way too much going on in restaurants to keep your finger on the pulse without some sort of system. Excel is a step up from a napkin. Use something to track something. You won't believe how many people do nothing. And that's what's scary. You don't want to be that. And it's hard to navigate the ship when you don't have a steering wheel. And I find when you don't have your costs done or your systems in place, you're driving a ship without a steering wheel. And I don't know how to navigate that as a coach on how to help them for LTOs or specials or menu planning or inventory or even staffing when I don't know the cost of products. And we get lost sometimes because these systems come out and they're complicated and they're expensive. Use a napkin. I don't care. Use something. Use something.
So even a napkin is better than nothing, but please don't use a napkin.
Exactly. Use napkin for marketing ideas. Maybe
Sure, yeah. For noodling ideas, but
yeah, exactly.
There's some great things that have started on a napkin, but it certainly wasn't the end, right? And if you're using a napkin for scheduling, give us a call.
Yeah, exactly. If you find you're scheduling on a napkin, call 7 Shifts.
Anyway,
there's your promo. There's your plug.
Cool. And I want to talk a little bit more just about, communicating to your community. I know there's a lot of pride, Canadian pride going on right now. I'm here in the US, but I love you guys. And, I work for 7 Shifts, which is a Canadian born company that employs a lot of Canadians as well. If you do have to increase prices on your menu because you need to buy local product instead of importing it from the States or from elsewhere, or you're changing things up because of this and it might cost the diner a little bit more. How are you thinking about, communicating that to guests right now and just in general?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we tend to fear is not being fully transparent.
Sure.
And I think that's key if you do have to increase some pricing. Now, I'm going to say most restaurants have already probably ceilinged at their pricing right now, meaning they just don't have much more to go. And they'll probably have to take it off at different areas of the P&L, and they might have to take it off. Their profits may shrink even a little bit more than there is because you just cannot increase price demand. Like the prices are just not there. And that might come with consumer confidence as well as being shaky. But if you do have to increase prices, sometimes we go there first. I almost sometimes think that we might have to go there last.
Okay.
Like that's your last case scenario. A lot of people go there first because it's easy. And I think even from David has said to me many times through the pandemic, a lot of people said, okay, my products went up so much. I got to slap everything 25% up. Worst thing to do. You need to know your pricing and you need to strategically map your menu out on where those prices are going to go up and what's going to go up and what's going to go down. Know what you're doing when it comes to your generated profit. Don't worry about food costs. Here's my theory on food costs, just so everyone knows this. And maybe one day we'll patent this. But you know, in like those old 1980 sports cars, when it had like the RPMs cage on the left-hand side of the dash, and you didn't know why the heck it was there. But then you had your speedometer. That's your food costs is the RPM gauge. It's kind of there and you kind of want to look at it once in a while, but it doesn't do shit. It's the one on the right-hand side that you have to focus on to determine your speed. That is my idea between food cost and your margin and your dollar amount putting in the bank. That's what you want to focus on. The other one just sits over there bouncing up and down and it's there what it is. It doesn't do anything. So I think when you look at people cost on a menu, you have to, in a sense, pull so many dynamics into it nowadays. You have to pull driving traffic. Are we driving traffic with this menu? Are we driving experience with this menu? How much can we get up and get out of it? And I think we have to look at so many decisions before we increase prices. And I think that's the easy route to do, but it could also be really detrimental to your business. And we want to make sure that if we have to go up 10 cents or 25 cents on a dish, is that necessary or can we make it up elsewhere? And that's where that leg room comes in. Is there other areas in our business that we can actually make the money back that we don't have to do those? Or look at product innovation. Most independent operators don't have a regular cadence of an R&D day in their menu, meaning once a quarter they're working on R&D. A lot of places don't have that. And I think that needs to be built into that map because there's so many options out there. If it is cutting your burger with plant-based stuff for 40% and it knocks you down, that's a lot of money. Like there's a lot of opportunities out there before. And I think this is going to push us to that innovation level to really go overboard on how to make money. And I also believe, last thing on this, most restaurants need 5 revenue streams.
Okay. I do want to dive into this.
Not your traditional. So today, if you look at for the last 200-300 years, we've been doing the same model of buying food, cooking it, putting it up a price, and then selling it. We've been doing this forever and relying on it as the one revenue stream to secure our business, to pay for stuff and buy stuff and employ people. It is too risky today to rely on one source of income. With the ability to use technology and the ability to create other revenue streams have been more easier than it's never been so easy ever to create new revenue streams for your business. So you don't have to 100% rely on food. That's your primary, but it's almost like, let's use like a department store.
Okay.
Of today, okay? A department store today has how many, they sell everything from tires to food to furniture to you name it. They don't rely on one source to generate the income for that overall department store. So if you look at businesses today, when you come to restaurant models, you can't just rely on one model today to make it secure. Now, I'm going to say over 90% of restaurants can actually have another revenue stream. There might be the odd one that can't. But I would say that's where that innovation comes in there. I read the other day, I think it was last week or the week before, convenience stores are hiring now high-end chefs, and they're calling it culinary convenience, right? And getting rid of that idea of, not the greatest food in a convenience store, but they know that the volume is there so they can hire these high chefs and everything else. They're disrupting it in a sense. So I think there's so many opportunities to rethink how you make money in this industry.
I love that, talking about revenue streams. And, I just talked to Josh Coble. You mentioned him earlier. We talked about, using AI to kind of noodle around and find those revenue streams. So number one, of course, being serving people food. People come into the restaurant, they sit down, they order at the counter, wherever it is, you give them food. Catering is a number 2, probably for most, if I had to guess.
Oh, I'd give you 6 on that, man. I never include that one.
That's a big one.
That or takeout falls into the food one for me.
Oh, okay, that's fair. So that even makes it more interesting. What are some of those beyond catering, takeout, and food? So that's 1 to you. Okay, some people would say that's 3, but that's 1.
Well, it's easy. It's food.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Some more revenue streams. That's obviously a way to help in these times of uncertainty is diversification, right? What are some of the things you're seeing? What do you recommend to clients what's exciting you?
So many. It's almost like, I don't know if you watch on TikTok, there's guys on there. It's like, here's another revenue or another small business idea. I listen to those guys nonstop, but there's so many things out there. So let's get into newsletters. So let's look at newsletters. Let's get some math. Get a calculator out. Get your phone out and we'll do some calculations because it's always good because you can talk. Talk's cheap. You got to get into money. Let's look at a newsletter. Okay, so we put out 4 newsletters a month, once a week, and our regular email database that we have, because we've gathered them for birthdays and everything else, we are asking them to also join our email, and that's also because they logged into your Wi-Fi and they gave you your information and they checked off that they want to be informed every week about the offers, what's going on in your cool restaurant. Okay, so you have an email template. You can build them on Canva for free. There's different programs out there you can use and whatever it is. The last one that I've been using, I just started using it this past week, and I think it is Substack is incredible right now as a newsletter model. There's so much integration in there. I actually think that's going to be the next app. That's going to explode even further. Anyway, so we create a newsletter. We use AI to create the topic to help us with the grammar. So it looks like we know what we're doing because we're not always the best in this industry to write newsletters. So we create a topic. Now, here's the key. I'm going to give you all my secret sauce here.
Okay.
So if you have an account on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn on the right-hand side talks about the current topics that are trending within LinkedIn. Now, you go over there and you look at the topic. Because I'm going to pull up my LinkedIn channel here. Now, the cool thing on LinkedIn is that when you go in there and you go to your main page, there's LinkedIn news. Okay, so Apple launches $599 iPhone. Okay.
Yep.
So what you can do now is that is one of the hottest subject. There's 211,000 people reading that subject right now. So it's hot. It's in the network, right? It's in the social network right now. It's cruising. People like it, blah, 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 blah. So what I want to do is I want to write a newsletter in a sense that has some of those key words or key titles or key subjects inside that news into my newsletter. Okay. And that could be in the fact that, hey, Apple launches a $599. We launched a $12.99 breakfast deal. Okay. So what you're doing is you're using SEO words out of Apple and you're plugging it into your newsletter now. Get where I'm going here?
I do.
So now you can write an article about that, or you can find a different part in those trending news, top stories.
Sure.
In there now, you can do the same thing with Google as well. Go into Google, pull it out. I use LinkedIn because I'm on LinkedIn a lot. But you can go to Google, find what those are, take those keywords, put it into AI. Say you want to write a newsletter that reflects that current topic that's trending right now in your community or in your city or in your country. Plug it into your newsletter. Your newsletter has got what's happening in your restaurant. Now you've got to plug together. Now you have a beautiful newsletter. And then you're probably asking, Jay, how the heck do we make money at it? Well, now, do you remember back, and I might date myself, back in the 80s, we had these cool little things, and they were called placemats.
Okay.
And you used to draw on them when you're a kid. They had placemats, and around those placemats, we sold advertising.
Yep.
And we sold advertising on there, and it could be John's barber shop or
auto
this
shop.
place or that. Okay. So now what you do is you got that on so now you go to your community and say, hey, I have this amazing newsletter. I have 3,000 people that I have a newsletter that I'm going to send out every week to, but I'm going to sell you an ad for $500 for once a month.
Sure.
Okay. Now, in the newsletters of today, you can put as many ads as you want, really, but you may want to put 10 in there. If you say, okay, it's $500 for 10, that's $5,000. Now, how much food do you have to sell at $5,000 with a 3 or 5% profit? Schwack of food, right?
Yeah.
Did you get your calculator out? That's a lot of food.
Yeah.
You have to sell. So now you don't have to increase your menu prices, or you don't have to sell as much during during the situation that we're dealing with, because you have a newsletter now generating your income, and you're reaching people, you're marketing people, you're putting ads in there, people are seeing them. You have an open rate on your newsletter, so you can sell. Your open rate is at 30% or 20% open rate. And people are going, wow, look at this. Because you're using and you're creating newsletters that are smart.
I love that. I love that idea of that old school. I mean, I love those placemats. There's still places I go and I visit my parents in upstate New York. Still have those.
It's digital. Now it's like digital model. Now it's
they still have them, believe it or not.
They probably still work.
They do. But if you think about
that's
it,
number 7 now. That's number 7. Placemats.
You go to businesses near you. If your restaurant's in the same strip as a clothing store or a pet store or auto body, and you can help each other out in that way. Advertise for them, and I think that's cool.
Well, take advantage of you have to look at what you have and other people don't have, right? Look at the fact that you have a stream of people walking through your door all the time. You have physical bodies walking in. So it's remember I think it's in like Japan or China that in the sidewalks they have ways that when people walk it generates energy and they walk on these panels and they create energy and they create electricity that way. I think the same thing in our business is that we actually have physical people in these businesses walking in. We have people joining our newsletter all the time. We have people using it as a source to live, like feed themselves. Take advantage of that because a lot of businesses do not have that much foot traffic or that much people coming into their businesses. And we have to look at that as almost like the polished way of looking at the new media. Obviously, old media is expensive. It's dying a slow death, but we have to look at new ways like this. And I really think newsletters, I've done them. I have 5 newsletters today myself. Maybe it's not $500 for a post. Maybe it's $100. It's $1,000 more a month you weren't doing before.
Yeah, and I love that idea, and it's just one of those creative examples of bringing in new revenue to the restaurant that, of course, helps in trying times, right? In these uncertainty, tariffs are looming. We don't know. We'll know more before this episode comes out, probably. That's a tactic that'll help now, but it also could have helped you a year ago, can help you 12 months from now. Like, it's just forcing folks, I think, putting a little more sense of urgency on thinking about ways to bring in more money, frankly.
Can I give you one more?
Yeah, of course. You're on the hook for one more.
Okay, I'll do one more for you. And this is how to use Uber Eats differently.
Love it.
Do you want my theory on Uber Eats?
I would love it.
This is wicked. Okay. So I've worked with Uber Eats before, but Uber Eats, so I just love this. I love it. I get excited about this. Uber Eats you can use actually as a store.
Okay.
And use it, so don't use it necessarily as a delivery system. You can, but use it actually as a store now to sell other things, your CPG product lines, your clothing line, your new swag line. You can sell everything outside of your norm when it comes to food through Uber Eats. You can actually have an e-commerce model almost built into your Uber Eats and use that as an avenue now to generate additional income. And you can also bundle it. So for example, younger generations, and so many restaurants have amazing brands, right? They have beautiful brands. And then people want to wear those brands on t-shirts, right?
Yep.
So instead of having a separate e-commerce store, which is also an opportunity for people if they want to go down that route, it is in a sense complicated sometimes, but you can actually use the one you already have for Uber Eats and use it actually as a way to generate larger ticket sales or generate an e-commerce model out of it. And that means adding in swag. You may have swag line. You may have hats. Now you can actually bundle it. So this is the cool part. So maybe you have like a deal, those combo deals that are on there, like buy a family meal, this and that.
Yeah.
And you get 3 t-shirts along with it. Or you get or water bottles, or you get different CPG products. A new barbecue is launched on Uber Eats. Use it as a marketing channel, not necessarily a revenue stream for your business. Use it as a marketing channel. The best thing about it is that we always try to figure out how to measure marketing. Uber Eats gives you every tool to tell you if it's a bad marketing idea or not. Based on your sales on those products. That traffic's coming out there and you want to disrupt the Uber Eats, instead of putting always like a picture of your product when you go through like the menu of places or what's new. Hey, you're giving away free t-shirts with 2 meals or whatever it is. It also, when you look at it, you can increase your menu price. So all of a sudden it's a 2 dinner meal that's $50, but you get a $25 t-shirt on us.
Right. That costs you cents to make, whatever.
Exactly. And then you can go to I use a Printful where it's an on-demand model for t-shirts and swag, and you can co-brand with Adidas and different companies out there, so you have co-branded clothing for your restaurant. But you can do that as well. And I think and then CPG product lines. There's a company out of Toronto called Food Ventures. Another plug for them is that they help companies like restaurants start CPG product lines. And I talked to them last week just on ideas for restaurants, and she said that most restaurants, you're 90% there already to create CPG product lines, because most people that have nothing don't have kitchens that are inspected and all these things. You already have that. Getting the packaging, some of the other regulation things in place isn't that hard, and you can have a CPG product line. And some of those product lines today are actually outselling their sales in restaurants.
Interesting. Like the merchandise and the CPG stuff.
Yeah.
So Uber Eats is 8, and then you've got CPG is 9, and merch is 10. So we're getting there. I still don't know what 1 through 5 is.
Right. But that's the beauty about all these ideas is that, like you said earlier, go in AI, like
Yep.
Josh said, type in ideas that are going to help me sell more products or generate more income. It will give you some, like you can have a YouTube channel. I think every restaurant should have a YouTube channel
Yep.
selling ad space on there. Every restaurant, I believe, should somehow incorporate social media. I think restaurateurs could be influencers. I think they're
Oh, yeah.
more super strong as an influencer because everything that's in the old traditional model of advertising is dead in a sense. When you move over and you have, Nick, he owns this pizza place and Nick is the greatest pizza guy for the last 50 years. He can sell spaghetti sauce better than someone I don't know who they are, what they are, and they're not credible, not credibility. And no matter what age they are, the older the better. Is that you can find, I have one of the ladies I work with, she's an 87-year-old podcaster.
Nice.
And she said to me, she goes, Jay, what, like, I'm so old. Like why? And I said, you have more credibility than anyone I ever known. And that's what counts when we look at selling stuff and working with stuff. So no matter the age, I think restaurateurs can be influencers, and I think they'd be phenomenal influencers. And companies will spend money with you and give you money to share and show your products.
Absolutely. I agree. I think there should be more. If you are one and you're listening, I want to talk to you on here. We launched this around that March 4th deadline, and things are moving forward as they are said to. What is your advice? What should folks do right away? In a few words.
Not panic.
Okay.
Don't panic. Our industry has been through COVID, housing crash, 2012, disruption in the oil industry. We've been through so many things. The worst thing to do is freak out, and people will dine out, but you're going to have to build up the consumer confidence in your community again. That's why now is the time to build that relationship with your community and your regulars and everyone else, making sure that they know you're human and you feed people and you have a family and all these things is important. But the best thing I would say is don't freak out. We tend to. It's going to make you freaked out.
Of course.
It is, in a sense, listen to more podcasts, plug, read more, listen to people that know what they're talking about. Because a lot of people out there that are armchair warriors still.
Yep.
But listen to them and literally slow down, look at what's important. Cash flow's king. Really, really, really have a plan before you get there. Don't wait till March 4th.
Absolutely. And just to wrap it all with a bow, if folks are looking for you, where can they find you?
Everywhere. You can Google Canada's Restaurant Guy.
Okay.
You could go there. Also listen to our Late Night Restaurant Show podcast, plug as well. Yep. We're on 3 or 4 times a week all across the world. I'm on there, and they can email me or message me through Canada's Restaurant Guy's site and on LinkedIn religiously all the time. And subscribe to one of my 5 newsletters.
Excellent. Including the one about navigating tariffs. And, that's kind of the impetus for today's chat. But Jay, thank you so much for hopping on. Hopefully we talk again soon. But I think a lot of great stuff came out of this conversation. A lot of nonsense, but a lot of great stuff too.
I appreciate it.
All right, Jay, take care. Thanks again for checking out this episode of the Pre-Shift Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review and share it with one of your friends to help our show grow. We could not do it without your support. As always, I would love to hear what you think about the show, or let me know if you want to be on it, or if you know someone that you would love to hear on it. You can email me directly, dj@7shifts.com. It's also in the show notes. And I look forward to hearing from all of you. Talk to you next time.